picture this for a second. You are standing in the middle of your living room, and standing about 10 feet away from you is a Bull Terrier.
Oh, boy.
Right. And right there, gripped firmly in her mouth, is your absolute favorite, very expensive, stolen shoe.
Of course it is.
Naturally. Now, you've done the work. You know for a fact she knows the drop it cue. I mean, she nailed it perfectly all afternoon during your training session. So you walk over, totally calm, and you say, drop it.
And let me guess, she doesn't drop it.
Oh, not even close. She turns her head slightly away, grips the shoe just a little tighter, and her eyes are just locked onto yours. And then her tail just starts slowly wagging.
She's ready.
Yeah, so you take one step closer, she takes one step back, you lunge for the shoe, and boom, she is off. She is just sprinting a victory lap through your house, absolutely thrilled with how this afternoon is going.
It's honestly the perfect crime. Because, in that exact moment, the shoe itself stopped being the point about 10 seconds into the interaction.
The chase is the point now.
Exactly. The chase is the reward.
And that scenario, that right there, is at the very heart of our mission today. We are taking a massive stack of behavioral research, training guides, and canine psychology specifically focused on Bull Terriers, and we are going to completely decode the myth of the stubborn dog.
Yeah, and to do that, we have to make a major paradigm shift right up front. Because when a dog ignores a cue, like dropping that shoe, she isn't confused.
Okay.
And she isn't being defiantly malicious either. She's simply doing canine math.
Canine math, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, in that moment, playing a chaotic game of tag is mathematically a much better payoff than just giving up her prize for absolutely nothing.
It makes total sense.
Right, so working with this kind of mind, it isn't about stamping out their big personality. It's about fundamentally changing the math so that, cooperation pays off and chaos gets them absolutely nowhere.
Well, let's actually start right there with the word stubborn. Because looking through all this behavioral science, there's this wild contradiction that comes up over and over again in the sources.
Oh, the genius versus clown thing.
Yes. Bull Terriers are routinely called both absolute geniuses and dumb clowns, sometimes by the exact same owners.
Totally.
I mean, they are incredible problem solvers.
Yeah.
They figure out latches, they remember complex routines, and they know with surgical precision exactly which family member is the softest touch for table scraps.
Oh, they map their environment flawlessly. They are brilliantly independent thinkers.
But if they're so brilliant, why do they have this reputation? I mean, if I have a dog that can learn to sit in 90 seconds flat in the kitchen, then completely blows me off when we step out into the backyard, human nature says that dog is just defying me.
Right, like they're just being a jerk.
Yeah, like a brilliant student who just refuses to do their homework.
Yeah.
If they aren't stupid and they know the command, isn't that just a flat-out refusal to cooperate?
Well, this is where we really have to stop conflating intelligence with compliance.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
In our human world, we tend to think a smart dog is an obedient dog. But biologically speaking, fast learning just does not equal automatic obedience. Yeah, so when we label a dog as stubborn, we are almost always misdiagnosing the underlying neurology. What looks like stubbornness to you is usually one of a few things.
Like what?
It could be persistence, a highly distracting environment, frustration from unclear cues, or, honestly, a dog whose arousal threshold is simply too high in that moment to even process human language. Or maybe a training session that just went on one repetition too long.
Okay, wait. Break that down for me. If my dog knows what I'm asking, right, and just chooses not to do it, how is that not defiance?
Because a Bull Terrier, and really terriers in general, they were bred to make independent decisions, often far away from a human handler.
So they're hardwired to think for themselves.
Exactly. When you ask them to do something, they essentially ask, what is the return on investment here? If you ask a highly intelligent, independent dog to sit for the 15th time in a row for no good reason, their brain doesn't say, I must obey.
It says, this is boring.
Right. Their brain says, this is pointless, I'm going to go find a more rewarding task.
So what happens if you just force the issue? Because I think a lot of people, especially dealing with a physically strong breed, they feel like they just need to prove who is in charge.
Oh, that is a genuinely terrible strategy. It almost always ends in disaster.
Really? Why?
Because if you try to use physical intimidation or confrontation with a confident dog, you trigger an immediate neurological response. You aren't teaching them compliance.
You're just scaring them.
You're activating their fight, flight, or freeze system. And with a physically confident breed, they don't usually cower. Their nervous system ramps up.
So they fight back.
Exactly. You get escalation. You either get a dog that completely shuts down and stops trusting you, or you get a dog that learns to use their teeth to protect themselves from you.
Wow. Okay. So if intimidation is completely off the table because it destroys that neurological bond, what leverage do we actually have left when a 60-pound block of muscle just simply decides not to listen?
We lean heavily into what actually drives them. We find our unique training currency.
Training.
Yeah, we have to figure out how to pay them properly for their cooperation so that listening to you is the most lucrative choice they can possibly make.
I hear that, but I have a major bone to pick with this concept based on a pretty common assumption.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's talk practically about this currency. If I'm walking around my house or walking down my street and I need a pocket completely full of sliced hot dogs just to get my dog to drop a shoe or sit at a crosswalk, aren't I just being extorted?
It does feel like that sometimes.
Right. Hasn't the dog effectively trained me to bribe them?
It is a super common frustration, but behavioral science makes a very sharp distinction here between a bribe and a reward.
Okay, what's the difference?
It all comes down to the mechanism of timing. A bribe happens before the behavior.
Before.
Yeah, it's when you pull out the hot dog, wave it in the dog's face, and try to talk them into doing what you want. You are using the food to lure them out of a state of non-compliance.
Right, which totally feels like extortion.
It does, but a reward comes after the behavior. You give the cue once, the dog makes the independent choice to comply, and then, and only then, do you produce the paycheck.
So the action comes first.
Exactly. You are reinforcing a choice they already made, which scientifically increases the likelihood of them making that exact choice again in the future.
But what if I give the cue and the dog just stares at me? Like, if I know they know the cue and they won't do it until my hand reaches into my pocket, they've figured out the game, haven't they?
Well, if they are waiting for your hand to move, you have actually accidentally built your hand movement into the cue itself.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, they're watching your body language. But more often, if a dog ignores you outside, it has absolutely nothing to do with your hot dogs.
What's it about then?
It has to do with their arousal threshold. The environment outside, I mean, the smells, the sounds, the movement, it is highly stimulating.
So they're just overwhelmed.
Yes. When a dog's nervous system is flooded with that much data, their brain literally prioritizes the environment over their stomach.
So a hot dog in a quiet kitchen is worth $100, but a hot dog in a busy park is just pennies compared to what's going on around them.
That is the perfect way to look at it. The distraction level is just way too high for the paycheck you're offering. And that is not a training failure or a dog being stubborn.
It's not.
No, that is a trainer moving too fast into a highly distracting environment. You have to build that up gradually.
Which brings up something fascinating from the sources we reviewed. The paycheck doesn't always have to be food, does it?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah. There is this concept of using the environment itself as the reward.
Yeah.
Like if a dog is intensely fixated on sniffing a bush, the highest value reward in that moment isn't cheese, it's giving them permission to just go sniff the bush.
Yes, that is known as the Premack principle.
The Premack principle.
Right. You use a highly probable behavior, so something the dog really wants to do, like exploring, to reinforce a less probable behavior, like making eye contact with you. Access to their environment is a massive reward. Oh, and briefly, this is why you never repeat a cue 5 times.
Oh, right, because if you say sit, sit, sit.
You're just teaching them that the first 4 sit cues don't actually count.
Got it. Okay, so we figure out the currency, whether it's food, a toy, or sniffing a tree. But how does that hold up when we are dealing with pure, unadulterated canine instinct?
That is where it gets tricky.
Because impulse control is a huge part of managing a Bull Terrier. And I couldn't help but think of this analogy when looking at how they react to moving objects.
Okay, let's hear it.
Relying purely on a verbal stay cue when a squirrel runs by an open door, that feels like someone whispering, "Don't eat that," to me while I'm standing at a Vegas buffet.
That's hilarious.
I mean, my brain is already halfway to the crab legs. A whisper isn't going to stop me.
That analogy is incredibly accurate to what is actually happening in the dog's brain. Because when a terrier sees a squirrel, a cat, or even like a plastic bag blowing across the street, you aren't fighting a conscious choice.
What am I fighting?
You are fighting thousands of years of genetics. You are triggering the predatory motor sequence.
Wait, the predatory motor sequence? What's that?
It's a hardwired instinct. Eye, stalk, chase, grab, bite. When that sequence is activated by sudden movement, Their brain is flooded with dopamine and adrenaline.
So they're completely zoned in.
Exactly. A verbal cue in that exact second is practically white noise to them. That is why the behavioral experts emphasize that management is just as crucial as training.
Meaning you just don't put them in a position where they have to make that choice to begin with.
Right. You use baby gates, you secure your fencing, you keep them on a leash when an open car door is nearby. Because instinct will override training in a split second, and the physical safety of the dog just has to come first.
Well, let's talk about the leash, actually.
Right.
Because walking a strong 60-pound dog with a high prey drive, that sounds like a nightmare if they decide to bolt.
It really can be, which is why the goal of leash walking shouldn't be that perfect, rigid, military-style heeling you see on TV.
Right, that looks exhausting.
It takes years of specialized training. For an everyday owner, the goal is simply a loose leash and voluntary check-ins. You just reward the dog heavily every time they choose to look back at you instead of staring down the street.
And doing this without pain-based gear. Right. Because I noticed the research strongly pushes back against things like prong collars for pulling.
Yes, and that's because of the oppositional reflex.
The oppositional reflex.
Yeah, so if you put pressure on a dog's neck, their physical instinct is to actually push against the pressure.
Oh, wow. So pulling causes more pulling.
Exactly. Pain-based gear might suppress the pulling temporarily through fear, but it doesn't teach the dog where to be. It just adds frustration to a dog that is already highly aroused by their environment.
Okay, so we have this incredibly strong, highly driven animal whose brain is hardwired to chase things that move. Obviously, that intensity doesn't just switch off when they walk through the front door.
No, it definitely doesn't.
Which brings us to the complex social dynamics inside the house.
Yeah, everything we just discussed about arousal, currency, and instinct, it plays out right in the living room, too.
Let's go right back to our shoe thief from the beginning. Why the shoe? I mean, why not just chew a bone that they're allowed to have?
Well, because a bone just sits there. A shoe, when gripped in a dog's mouth, magically summons their favorite human to play a high-stakes game of tag.
Oh, so object stealing isn't usually about the object at all.
Not usually. It's an invitation to interact.
So the fix isn't to chase them, because that's just playing their game. The fix is teaching a reliable trade.
Yeah.
You offer something better, they drop the shoe, they get paid, crisis averted.
Exact.
But what happens when it's not a game? Like what happens when a dog steals something or maybe is eating their dinner, and when you approach, they freeze, they stiffen, and they growl?
Ah, you were talking about resource guarding.
Yes, and I really want to push on this because human instinct and a whole lot of outdated advice says that if a dog growls at you over a food bowl, you need to establish dominance immediately.
Right, the old alpha theory.
Exactly. You take that bowl away to prove that you are the boss and that all food belongs to you. But modern behavioral science explicitly says that is the worst possible thing you can do. Why?
Because the entire dominance framework is fundamentally flawed here. Resource guarding has absolutely nothing to do with a dog trying to be the CEO of your kitchen.
Then what is it?
It is rooted in resource scarcity and profound fear. The dog is terrified of losing something highly valuable to them.
So they are panicked, not power hungry.
Precisely. Now, think about the mechanism of a growl. A growl is your dog's dashboard warning light.
Oh, I like that.
It is them communicating in the clearest language they have. I am incredibly uncomfortable with how close you are to my valuable thing.
And if you ignore it,
If you ignore that warning light and yank the bowl away to prove a point, you aren't teaching them not to guard.
you're just proving that they were right to be afraid of you.
Exactly. You are confirming their exact fear. You are teaching them that humans are thieves. So the next time you approach them while they have something valuable, they remember that growling didn't work last time. So they skip the growl entirely, and they escalate straight to a snap or a bite just to protect themselves.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
You are just escalating an arms race by taking the bull.
Yes, exactly.
So what's the alternative? How do you fix it?
You use counter-conditioning. You teach the dog that your approach predicts amazing things, not theft.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
Say they have their kibble. You walk by and toss a piece of roasted chicken from a safe distance, and you just keep walking. Over time, the dog's neurology actually shifts. Instead of tensing up, fearing you'll steal their food, they look up eagerly, hoping you're bringing the good stuff.
You trade up.
Right, you respect the growl, you trade up, and I should add, if the guarding is severe, you immediately hire a certified behaviorist.
Which feels especially critical if there are kids in the house. I mean, the
Oh,
guidelines
yes.
in our sources on children and bull terriers are incredibly strict.
Uh-huh.
Non-negotiable supervision. No riding the dog, no climbing, no rough wrestling.
Yes, absolute rules.
But there's one rule that really stood out to me. No waking the dog up abruptly.
Yeah, that has to do with the sleep-startle reflex.
Walk me through that. Why is that so dangerous?
Well, when a dog is in deep sleep and they are suddenly touched or jostled, say a toddler trips and falls on a sleeping dog, the dog's brain doesn't have time to process who is touching them.
Right.
Their waking brain instantly defaults to self-defense. They might snap before they are even fully conscious.
Wow.
And if you add that to a concept called trigger stacking, where a dog might have, heard a loud noise outside, then didn't get their normal walk, and then get startled awake, their nervous system simply overflows.
It's just too much at once.
Yeah.
And with a breed this powerful, an accidental snap from a startled dog is a serious medical event.
It really is, which is why management, physical barriers, and teaching children to completely ignore a sleeping or eating dog is paramount.
Speaking of their nervous system overflowing, let's talk about energy levels. Because if you have a bull terrier that is frantically pacing, body slamming people, frantic mouthing, and just totally blowing off every cue they know, the human assumption is always, wow, this dog has too much energy. I need to go run them for another hour.
Right. The exhausted dog is a good dog myth.
Yes.
Ah.
But the behavioral science says they usually need the exact opposite.
They really do. When a dog is frantic like that, they aren't necessarily under-exercised. They are over-aroused. Their cortisol levels are just through the roof. Think of their brain like a vigorously shaken can of carbonated soda.
Oh, that's a great visual.
Taking a wildly over-aroused dog for an intense run is like shaking that soda can even harder, hoping it will somehow flatten the carbonation.
Right, it's just going to make it explode.
It doesn't work. What they actually need is to be set down in a quiet place so the pressure can slowly dissipate.
So they need an off switch.
Yes. And here's the really crucial insight. An off switch is a distinct skill that must be taught.
Wait, they don't just know how to relax.
Not always. If every single interaction you have with your dog is a high-energy game of tug or fetch, they literally never learn what ordinary, boring, calm feels like.
Wow, okay.
You have to actively reward them for doing nothing, toss them a treat when they are just resting on a mat or calmly watching the room without needing to be the center of attention.
So they have this intense physical bond with their environment. They're always plugged in, deeply connected to their family, which makes them incredible companions.
Absolutely.
But what happens when we have to leave the house? If you're listening to this right now and you've ever come home to a door frame chewed down to splinters or your favorite rug just destroyed, it is entirely normal to feel angry. It feels incredibly personal.
It really does.
Right. It is so hard not to look at the destruction and think, you did this out of spite because I left you behind.
It is a deeply natural human assumption, but we have to debunk it entirely using the sources. Dogs do not have the prefrontal cortex development required for complex revenge plots.
So they aren't getting back at me.
No, they do not operate on spite.
Then why do they eat the door frame?
If you are seeing pacing, heavy drooling, vocalization, and especially destruction focused exclusively around the exits, like the windows and the door frames, you are looking at textbook signs of profound separation distress.
Oh, so they're terrified.
They're experiencing a literal panic attack.
They're trying to dig their way back to you.
Exactly. Their attachment is so strong that isolation causes their nervous system to panic. And importantly, just taking them for a longer run before you leave for work will not fix true separation anxiety.
Right, going back to the soda can analogy.
Exactly. You can't exercise away a panic attack. It often requires very gradual desensitization, predictable routines, and frequently veterinary support with anti-anxiety medication to bring their panic threshold down low enough that they can actually learn it's safe to be alone.
Which really underscores the commitment level required here. And that leads me to the biggest myth we have to tackle head on. Because you cannot discuss bull terriers without this coming up.
Let's do it.
Are they automatically aggressive?
The behavioral consensus in all our sources is very clear. No. Breed alone does not predict any individual dog's behavior.
Okay.
Aggression is a complex behavior. It's influenced by genetics, early socialization, fear, pain, and the dog's immediate environment.
But the stakes are different, aren't they?
That is the critical point. The breed doesn't dictate aggression. But their physical morphology, their muscle mass, their jaw strength, their persistence, that dictates the
Yeah.
stakes. A small dog biting out of fear might leave a puncture. A bull terrier biting out of fear is a life-altering event. The margin for error in management is significantly smaller.
So synthesizing everything we've unpacked today,
Yeah.
from arousal thresholds to resource scarcity to training currencies, who is this breed actually for?
Well, a committed, even first-time owner can absolutely succeed, but they have to be completely dedicated to consistent, reward-based training and meticulous environmental management.
They need a lot of patience.
A deep well of patience for their humor and their independent streaks. But they're a very poor match for anyone wanting effortless obedience, anyone seeking guaranteed off-leash safety, or anyone who wants a dog that is happy just being a piece of decorative furniture all day.
Okay, so let's bring this all the way back full circle to our living room.
Ah, the shoe.
The shoe. The dog has your shoe. But this time, let's play it out applying the behavioral science. The owner doesn't lunge. They don't try to intimidate. They stay totally calm, and they offer a well-practiced exchange cue.
And the canine math happens.
Yes, the dog's brain calculates the math, realizes the paycheck in your hand is far more lucrative than the shoe, and chooses to drop it. The dog gets paid, she is redirected to a toy she's actually allowed to shred, and the owner secures the shoe in the closet.
Crisis averted.
It is the exact same dog, the exact same goofy personality. But you aren't accidentally rehearsing a chaotic game of tag that just ends in frustration.
And that single interaction builds a ripple effect. Because that foundation of trust, that understanding of mutual cooperation without conflict, it translates directly into everything else.
Like at the vet.
Exactly. A dog that trusts you isn't just easier to live with, they are vastly easier to handle for veterinary care, ear cleaning, and injury checks. It keeps them physically safe, and it makes managing their overall well-being a collaborative effort rather than a daily battle.
It is entirely connected.
Yeah.
Spending all this time deeply unpacking the underlying motivations of a famously stubborn animal, it leaves me with a thought I really can't quite shake, and it goes beyond the sources.
Oh, what's that?
If we can completely reshape our relationship with a bull terrier just by understanding what actually motivates them, we can fix the chaos simply by changing the math, reducing their stress, and offering a fair trade instead of constantly chasing them down or intimidating them.
Yeah.
How might that exact same philosophy fundamentally change the way we interact with these stubborn humans in our everyday lives?
Oh, wow. That is a remarkable parallel.
Right. I mean, are we accidentally playing an endless game of chase in our own arguments at work or with our families when we could just be stopping, figuring out what their actual currency is, and offering a collaborative trade? Definitely something to mull over the next time you're putting your shoes safely away. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
As always, a reminder that our discussion today is for educational purposes only. If you have any concerns about your dog's physical health or behavioral challenges, please consult a qualified veterinarian or a certified professional behaviorist.